Republican Congressman from Tennessee and member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Tim Burchett. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Why do you think we're hearing reports that the White House may be so nervous for the Prime Minister Netanyahu's address? Are they afraid of what he might say?
Well, I've spent a little quality time with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he when he walks in the room, you know who the heck he is, and he's a leader. He takes the hard stand, and this president, and this White House, and frankly, this Washington D.C. does not. They've looked for every out on supporting Israel. We sent aid to Israel, but we sent money to Gaza, which we said would get stolen, and it ended up in the hands of Hamas, and it sure enough did. And you're seeing this on these are usually groups out of college campuses. These are public institutions that we paid for with our tax dollars. And all my millionaire buddies out there who give money to these universities, the left, when they give money, they put a string on it. Dadgummit, every dollar we give these colleges and universities, there ought to be a string on it, that this kind of garbage is not allowed to happen. And this is just a manifestation of that. You see this innocent Jewish family out there got a dadgum kid in their car, and they're beating the crap out of them. That doesn't happen in Tennessee, because a bunch of us Southern Baptists, we would pretty much form a line around those folks, and they would be more than well protected. And because we don't put up with that nonsense here, and that's why you're seeing everybody leave California that can in these northern states and liberal places that have liberal, really just liberal leadership. That's what fuels this. And for Gavin Newsom to get off his butt and finally say something about it is pretty remarkable in itself. But we got a lot of work to do in this country, and these folks are trying to tear it down.
Congressman, there's reports that Democrats, some of whom include members of the squad, including AOC and Jamal Bowman, who made plenty of headlines with their behavior at a rally this weekend. Are you surprised by that? I'm not at all. But your thoughts?
Heck no. Heck no. They're going to rile up the crowd. If you heard what they said, they didn't say anything. I think Jamal Bowman said, ceasefire, ceasefire. There'd be a ceasefire in Gaza if the terrorists would put down their guns, if they hadn't come across that border and violated a treaty and murdered, and these are American citizens, raped kids, cut babies out of their mamas, did some of the most horrific things that we've ever seen, at least in my generation. And then we watched the tape. Jamal Bowman, have him watch that tape that I saw, him and AOC, and let's see what they say then. When they walk out, they're going to have a hard time making excuses for that. And, these radicals, they won't stop at the Jewish folks. After that, they're coming after them. And they need to, this is the type of thing you need to stomp out, and you need to end it now.
With the first presidential debate coming up this week in just 3 short days, how much do you think the two candidates will focus on foreign policy, and specifically the Israel and Hamas conflict? I know that your advice to both candidates has been stick to the basics.
Yes, ma'am. I would stick to the basics. I would say how you're going to fix the problems we have, the runaway inflation, the border situation. I think number one's going to be the border. And I think down on the list will be Israel and what's going on there, because I think the point still needs to be made that we are on both sides of this war. And for Biden to say we're not going to put troops on the ground, but he builds this crazy pier that nobody thought would work, that basically is $300 million they might have just thrown into the Gulf somewhere out there, because it's not ever going to work, I don't think, before this thing's over. And if I was Trump, I would just point out the failures, because he's only got an hour and a half, so he'll have to focus on just a few, because you can't hit them all. And of course, this president has been absent and will be, I think, for 8 days. And there's no telling, what cocktail mix they're giving him to get him jacked up enough to be able to last an hour and a half, because you saw he had about 55 minutes during the State of the Union, and he didn't make it to the end. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But I say on these debates, honestly, you bring your side, I bring my side, and we both leave thinking we won. And that's basically, and to put it on CNN, I mean, my gosh, they cheated the last time. They admitted to it. Could you imagine if somebody had been giving Donald Trump the questions? Oh, there'd have been a UN inquiry or something. But because it was Hillary and her people, her henchmen or henchwomen, so to speak, were running the show. I don't know why they even agreed to go on CNN, other than just the fact that this president has been a complete failure from day one.
Yeah, I don't know why we're not talking about that more, that whole scandal where
that's a really
Hillary
good point.
got the questions. I've said it a couple times. Real quick, we got about 30 seconds, Congressman. You're introducing a bill in Congress that would stop the Taliban from getting U.S. tax dollars. I can't believe it, and I'm sure all Americans watching right now cannot believe that that's even a headline that I'm having to ask you about this bill. Tell me about it and tell us what's going on.
Well, I've got a great staff, and a fellow in my office, John, he did a little research on this, and we started asking some questions. And sure enough, that's what's going on. Our tax dollars are going to the Taliban. It's not just internet tinfoil hat wearing people like Tim Burchett. This is actually going on, and this will call it out, will expose it, and hopefully put a stop to it. You've got to watch this State Department crowd. When Trump gets back in, he better clean house. He better go through there like Grant through Richmond, not just their leadership, but he needs to just tear these terrible agencies down and build them back up, because these are our enemies. These are people who are sworn to kill us, kill Christians, kill Jews, and yet our tax dollars are going to them through our State Department and others. This is ridiculous, and we got to call it out for what it is. Thank goodness Steve Scalise gave me the call last week and said, hey, this bill's up. We're going to get it through.
Yeah, terrorists who despise America, freedom, and everything we stand for. It's hard to imagine that our citizens' tax dollars are going to them. All right. Good luck with that bill. Congressman Tim Burchett, we appreciate having you as always. See you soon.
Thank y'all so much. Newsmax, y'all are the best. Thank you for putting the truth out there.
Thanks, Congressman. Appreciate it.